welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, we've all been under a very long period of lockdown. We all know that there is still no cure for our COVID vaccine, but we are all venturing out also. However, what are the spin-offs of COVID? Now, I'm not just talking about the health spin-offs, but there have been also some other side effects also. For instance, we've seen a rise in crime, either because of joblessness and also because of people have nowhere else to go, they have nothing else to do. Either way, we've seen a rise in the crime graph. We've also seen a breakdown in relationships, marital discords, couples living together suddenly find that too much of each other is also not a good thing. And also, what are the precautions that we take when we go out? Because we're coming out with, the disease, as I said, is still not found a cure. What are the messages that one can send? Because life as normal has to carry on. So even though lockdown has still not been totally lifted, we are venturing out. How do we venture out? These are some of the questions, everyday questions that I'm going to be raising in today's roundtable. Joining me, of course, Dr. Surya. He is a dental specialist. He's been practicing in New Delhi over the past 20 years. We have, of course, Mr. Vikram Singh. He's a former DGP UP Police and a familiar face on television channels. And Geeta Luthra, she's a lawyer and also a crusader for women's rights. We shall shortly be joined by Rachna Subramanian, who is also a psychotherapist. But I'll begin with you first, Puneet, because you and I have been having a conversation that actually, I must confess, has led to this show. We've been talking about the precautions that you've been taking, the new normal really in your dental clinic. If you can start by telling us what are the fears that your customers are having? Are people venturing out? What is the situation like over there?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Priya. And coming to my subject specialty of dentistry, I must say that there is definitely a genuine concern about the well-being of the patients as well as the hygiene part of the setup where they intend to go. So it's just not about that patients want to just get some work done because the doctors are open and they are open to some emergency procedures as of now. I'm talking on dentistry. But trust me, when people inquire about an appointment, they are having a lot of questions, a lot of anxiety about the kind of setup they are about to enter into. Are we really prepared to have them? So certain times they go a little overboard, like a fear psychosis kind of thing. But I mean, we need to understand the difference, the faint line between the genuine concerns on infection, whereas wherever there is a fear psychosis. But we try our best in our setup to have the international protocols, the kind of protocols we need to follow to prevent any cross infection from us to them or from them to us, because life is important either ways.
Right.
And yes, definitely, there is definite concern on the safety of their health. And definitely, we are trying to understand the new norms as we are trying to get into this situation day in and day out when we are attending these dental emergencies as of now.
Okay, Geeta, do you see have there been a lot more workload for you in terms of has there been more relationship breakdown in terms of lockdown? Have you come up with some unusual circumstances that you would like to share with us?
So more than directly, a lot of women's groups have asked me to address them. A lot of counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, and other groups who are support groups. So maybe not directly with people, but with support groups who are saying that their domestic violence is on the increase.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot more data will emerge when people are out of lockdown. But even Indian examples, there is a perception, and that's why the courts have laid down certain guidelines, that domestic violence incidents are on the rise. The district courts were not really totally functional except for some bail matters. There is lack of infrastructure everywhere, and because of which, even though the courts have said that they would deal with maintenance cases or second motions, that's really a tip of the iceberg. So although the High Court has laid down, and I must appreciate that, guidelines, because they have foreseen that there will be there is an increase in domestic violence, how many people have the wherewithal to meet lawyers, to brief lawyers? You're sitting in the same house in a lockdown situation. It's very difficult to get legal redress. It's very difficult to access legal redress. It's very difficult to escape or leave from there and go somewhere else. And there would be even child custody cases, which according to me, where one or the other parent may be using or misusing the lockdown to say, we are denying access. Now that's really a misuse. If we look at, for example, very many, and I'm not looking at Indian examples, India, the situation has become worse now. But for example, in the US, in certain states, the position was bad from many months ago. And there would be circulars and notifications by the Superior Court divisions in California, in certain counties, in other counties, in various other states, where they've said this does not mean denial of access for one parent or the other. Now, as far as domestic violence is concerned, again, because they have documented it better, there are case of where a woman whose husband had been given she had been given a protection order and he couldn't have access to her, went and killed her. So the mother talks about it that, because of lockdown, I was not able to access my daughter as frequently and therefore not able to rescue her, and so on. So they're bound. There are more cases. They're bound to be more cases. Even in perfectly sane relationships, there is huge amount of psychological pressure even on normal people.
But Vikram Singh, you heard, the rise in domestic violence cases, even in normal circumstances, people have a problem. And I'd like to welcome Rachna Subramaniam also to the show. She's, as I said, a psychotherapist and a physioanalyst. But Mr. Singh, your take on this, how do you see the lockdown affecting law and order?
Priyaji, it was such a privilege and a process of learning for me from the esteemed two panels that I heard just now. And I couldn't agree with Madam Geeta Luthra more, the pearls of great wisdom and hands-on experience. This quality time of the lockdown has become quantity time, and quantity time, it has become unbearable time for many of the couples, most unfortunately. There are couples who had a more stable relationship. There were couples who were said to be made for each other. I'll go into that. But there has been a frightening increase of domestic violence cases the world over. The worst case is in Pakistan, 200%. We claim that there's only an increase of 30% of domestic violence. But I feel that, as Madam Geeta Luthra mentioned, the access to police stations and the ability to lodge a complaint is not there. And therefore, the increase in 30% does not represent the real figure. I will give you first. I live in Noida, and there are very close, stable couples who, in fact, say there was a lady who said, I want to meet you when you go for your evening workout. And when the lady came, there's the dowry case. It has raked up now. But where is the girl? I'm the girl, but madam, you're 65 years, almost 65 years old. My husband now in the lockdown says that marriage took place almost 40 years ago. And what the car that your father had given me was a second-hand car. The fridge that was given did never work. So matters that were as old as 4 decades old are now being raked up because there is excessive time at hand and perhaps nobody knows what to do with it. I would add the 3 points that add to and contribute to this problem is, one is alcoholism. When alcohol was not available, people ran out of there and exhausted the stock that they had in their bars. Then they took to the bootleggers and went in for surreptitious and the fake liquors. And also when the liquor shops opened, they went on a splurge. The second, the drug and the substance abuse also contributed in the absence of the liquor and perhaps their usual social outings. They recourse to substance abuse. And the third, unfortunately, there is a cash crunch. When the cash crunch is there, people, supposedly giving a voluntary cut of 50% in the salaries, people not getting the promotions that were due to them, people not getting, and God forbid if the lady gets a promotion and the husband is looked over. Well, that is nothing but unleashing hell in the household if that something like that happens. Many, I can give you any number of examples where women, because of their linguistic skills, interpersonal skills, their ability to be fast learners, taking into IT solutions, perhaps did much better than men folk during the lockdown. Well, that can't be held against them. The men folk also had an opportunity to work as hard, but just too bad. The few did not cope up with the competition. Then every time that the lady got a promotion or a raise or a bonus was looked upon as an assault on the ego of the husband. And that is where the dimension came and people started looking where to look upon a shoulder to lean on like yours or Madam Geeta Luthra's. But again, let the lockdown be open, then you find a deluge and tsunami of complaints of domestic violence. Stable couples, couples known to be made for each other, yet they fought like babies when the lockdown exceeded 4 weeks. And that is where the problem begins. And I think the psychiatrists and the psychoanalysts would tell us better. I was looking at a quote of Carl Jung, who said that in a moment of such distress, the human mind is like a pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense and not between right and wrong. This is Carl C. Jung, one of the leading psychoanalysts that the world has.
Well, thank you so much for that. Puneet, while we are waiting for Rachna to join us, as a dentist also, have you been a doctor, have your customers, because patients do tend to talk to doctors more than they would talk to other people. Have your patients been talking to you about just what they're going through during lockdown in terms of depression, in terms of maybe abuse, in terms of just feeling stifled?
Yeah, for sure, because it definitely affects the psyche of the patients while they are talking to us, because incidentally, we are working in very close proximity to the patients, so they feel the proximity of us, and sometimes they do discuss out little problem here and there depending on how much time we have and they have. We definitely, I agree with Vikram sir about it, because so many cases happening up on domestic violence, and sometimes if it goes a little physical, it can actually give us kind of a patient which comes up with a fractured tooth or anything like that happen. And again, I would say it's just not about the newlywed or a lovey-dovey kind of a couple. I mean, it could be as old a marriage as maybe 15, 20 years down the line. And lot of factors which definitely decides your psychology about it, and the mood changes which keep on happening because of this definitely play a very important role in that. And we do get, sometimes we have encountered in few days from past few weeks, we have encountered a patient's cases of domestic violence itself as well.
My God.
So yes, I feel so that in our profession, yes, we do get understanding about this. People do talk about it, and of course, they don't talk too much in detail about it. And to be honest, we don't encourage that as well, because that's not the right place to be talking about in our work scenario. But yes, with a glimpse of it, we can surely understand, and we come to know that yes, there is more to it, what they're just trying to convey in a very subtle way. And there's more to the story, which and as Sir rightly said, Vikram Sir rightly said, as let this unusual times be over, and there could be, if not formal complaints, at least, yes, things will be a little different when it comes to, the co-harmony and the coexistence part of of being in the family. Yes.
I think, especially during lockdown, being a psychoanalyst has become part of your essential services, because they don't have access to lawyers or psychologists. So
definitely, probably more than physicians, we need a psychologist around to take care of our day-to-day mood swings and the kind of problems we do face.
Very true.
Geeta, Mr. Singh also was talking about the cases in terms of what makes it worse is that, yes, there is physical abuse, but they also have nowhere to go. As during lockdown, there was no facility as such. Nobody even thought that this would be a spin-off. He's of course said, a couple of reasons were cited, obvious ones. One was, of course, whether there is alcohol, there's a problem. There's no alcohol, that's also a problem. So what are the other reasons, and what advice have you been giving people? I'm sure you've been getting a lot of calls.
So the fact is that we don't know how sensitive the police can be at this point. I'll tell you,
Track
if we
record
are
is not
saying
very
the
good.
doctors are overloaded, the police, by their very training, are not made to be very sensitive. But
We
at
have a
this point,
ex-policeman on the panel, so
I
speaking
know,
at your peril.
I have a lot of regard for
Who
him.
is a very sensitive panelist.
No, I'm not talking of him. I'm
I
talking
know.
of,
I was just
and
troubling
let
you.
me tell you, I was going on to complete. But
Ji.
in this period, they have been the most sensitive. They have been the greatest rallying point for all NGOs, for all social workers, for people who have come together to distribute food and, look after the migrant labor. So in fact, I was going to do a exception saying that in this case, you've seen the police really, really go many miles beyond the call of duty. But having said that, question is, they have so much to handle. They have law and order to handle. They have to make sure that people don't congregate in groups. They have 144 to take care of. They have to make sure that there is no further COVID spreading, because you know what happened in various places where people have congregated. They have to go to the alcohol places. They have to go to the sabzi mandis. Theirs is this thankless job. With that, they will be getting some extremely urgent calls where people feel that there would be huge amount of physical violence or is being physical violence. Most people will keep quiet because they don't have another place to go in COVID times. But there will be that small percentage of people who have no choice but to cry for help. In which case, the police's job will be even more burdened. That's what the point I was trying to say.
Okay.
Not against the police, but in fact, giving them a pat on their back in the present situation and say that with this, they have. So what can we advise if somebody calls me telephonically is, well, your recourse is to call the police. Your recourse is to call 100. You have to call somebody like that. They will come to your aid. And they will then try and make sure that you aren't again subjected to violence. And it's not that I may be getting calls from social groups and counselors, but it's not that we don't get calls from other people, from individuals who are suffering. And that's the only advice that you can give them, that, this is not, otherwise will be times when people will call their parents. They will call the husband's parents.
Some older.
Their husband's relatives. At this point, you have no rallying point. You have no social pressure. And you have the psychological pressure of a person who's abusive, who becomes even more abusive.
And so staying with you. Yeah.
I think the recourse is the police. And I know they are burdened, but there doesn't seem to be a choice.
Mr. Singh, I'll come back to you in this. In terms of, we've seen not just, of course, domestic violence, domestic stress. One is the role of police during lockdown. I think Geeta is being a bit charitable. I actually, with all due respect to you, but I feel that they could have handled certain situations better, especially the migrant issue. They could have been deployed better. Instead of sending them with cakes to people's houses, we could have used them, say, in situations where they are needed. They've been also pretty harsh on people who break lockdown. If people are breaking lockdown, it's because they want some essential service, or they want to go to the market, or they are worried and panic buying. So they don't need the police to wield a lathi on them. So that's one thing I want you to talk about. And then, of course, the rising crime post-lockdown, crime on the streets also. Mr. Singh.
Certainly, Priyaji. First of all, I would like to thank with the deepest of gratitude to respected Geeta Luthra ma'am for her words of great magnanimity and kindness. Indeed, there were sumptuous takeaways from what she said. Firstly, that the police themselves are badly stretched and their resources are at a breaking point. And to expect something miraculous, that they would lend a shoulder, or perhaps they have run the extra mile. There is no doubt that they have given an excellent account of themselves by and large. But there have been disturbing cases, one or two, one that you heard of Jaipur, when, like a fast learner, that constable probably knelt on the person, the elderly person who was not wearing a mask, and almost throttled him, as the case happened in the US. Please make no mistake about it that our citizens, if they're not wearing a mask or they're contravening the provisions of 144, they are not criminals. They are citizens. They may be out of ignorance, out of compulsions. The migrant laborers are not criminals. It was a human tragedy inflicted upon them, and they had no way, because with not a morsel in their mouth, not a rupee in their pockets, with their youngsters on their shoulders, if they are venturing out, let us not live in an illusion that they can't be pushed back. They will go to their destination, rain, hail, or storm. The police job is to facilitate. The government has to be sensitive. It is not in our interest to treat the migrant laborers or anyone like criminals, because nobody is a criminal. Those traveling by train, those traveling and dying of asphyxia in the train. Another part of human tragedy is that those who travel, many of them died. 18 traveling in cement mixers. I mean, I have never imagined that this could possibly happen in our country. This is a human tragedy of the worst kind, best addressed in time. It is for the Supreme Court to have intervened, and then probably we realize that the person who's out with his family, which is meager belonging, cannot be pushed around. He is an extremely sensitive commodity and has to be handled with extreme care, caution, forethought, and empathy. Now, coming back to the fact, what can the police do? You're very right that the training perhaps does not make us good psychoanalysts, but we have a Mahila police station in every district. We have trained police personnel, especially the lady police officers, who can be trusted to be very patient and very keen listeners. And listening perhaps would do 50% of the job. You don't need to train psychoanalysts, but the fact that you can intervene after listening patiently, do whatever you can. But the compulsions are such, when 0.5%, even that is a frightening number in the force, has a propensity or a tendency, and they have confessed in surveys that they are in fact tempted to harm themselves because of the epidemic and the fear of the epidemic and the scary situation that has happened in many states where policemen, policewomen are getting the infections and not proper treatment given to them. You can see what kind of human material you are dealing with. I salute men and women in uniform. There are Corona warriors on whom the nation can be proud of, barring a few exceptional, or by way of exception, the ugly incidents. They have given an excellent account of themselves. But the fact remains that, as Geeta ma'am had said, lend a year. There are Mahila helplines. There are NGOs who are prepared to listen. Don't even think of harming yourself. The moment the thought crops up that you are thinking of harming yourself, that is a dangerous call. That is an alarm bell. And please don't take it lightly. The moment anyone gets a feeling of harming oneself, whether in the police, whether a lady or a man, he should first seek psychiatric help or intervention, or take help wherever it comes from. This is an alarm bell, and I'm sure I would like to be enlightened on this.
So welcome to this conversation. And we were discussing the impact of lockdowns, especially on mental health and on relationships breaking down behind closed doors. You must have had a glimpse of what's happening over there. People must have been calling you. Could you share some of your observations with us?
This has had a devastating impact on the lives of people. That is established. What we've been seeing is cases of panic attack, anxiety, depression, and people wanting to take their own lives. So suicide victims, suicidal ideation, and it has just been very, very harsh a problem to deal with given the limited circumstances because of the lockdown. Unfortunately, the perpetrators of abuse and the victims of abuse are forced to be in the same home environment, which is just making it extremely hard to get the distance put between the victim and the abuser. So because of that, it is a big challenge for us, because though we want to help, we don't know how to go about it. The shelters are filled with women. Now, what we're seeing is that people are afraid to go to the shelters because they feel like they can be contagious, or they can actually get the virus themselves. So there is a fear of approaching people, of being in contact with people, of being in crowded places. So, it's been a huge problem in trying to bring relief to people who are victims of abuse.
Surya, last word from you. Do you think that opening up is good right now as a doctor, or do you think one should, not in terms of COVID, but in terms of the mental impact that lockdown has had on people?
Well, sooner or later we have to. There's absolutely no escaping that this is not the normal. This is not the normal way of living down. So we have to gradually go up to it. So it's definitely a very, very tough call for any administrators to take this call on balancing the number of cases happening because of the lockdown being opening up and not opening up, and then leading to all this psychological and other criminal related problems. And taking a little clue and appreciating what Vikram sir said, that we must acknowledge at this point. I wanted to acknowledge about the real corona warriors, which are the doctors, which are on the front line, and the policemen, who have been doing such a fantastic work, and people who have been on their toes to provide the essential services. So I personally feel that these three are the biggest categories which will help. And the police cannot be everywhere. Self-policing, self-discipline, self-control is the key to it, because police cannot be everywhere, right? So we all have to be vigilant. We have to have our balanced sense of mind going in. Coexistence with the colonies, coexistence with RWAs, all these small things is like, you have a localized way of understanding what is safe for you in these kind of times, because unemployment, lack of extra police vigilance on the roads, and face mask being the new normal is kind of, there's just going to be, we're making ourselves a little more susceptible to these kind of things happening. So self-discipline is the key, and, self-policing, be a little alert, be vigilant, and we have to be at that time till the time the things start normalizing, which may take a month or two. It's not coming up that easily.
Not that easy. But Vikram Singh, he said face mask, which reminds me of one thing. How do we now distinguish assailants between the victims in the face mask issue? Everybody is wearing a face mask, Ajkal.
Priyaji, I think it's very easy. The body language, face is just a small part of the demeanor, the walk, the gait, and the wrinkles on the forehead. I mean, it is the gait that can tell you the moment a person enters your room, or you can see a person walk, you can easily make an understanding. You can whether that person is in distress or normal or is effervescent. Just a deep insight into human physiognomy and psychology, you can not ignore the disturbing signs of a person who is battered or in a state of acute stress. I, for one, and I think all of our respected and esteemed panelists can make out, when a person is in distress, the mask is absolutely nothing. It cannot conceal tears. It can only conceal the smile or the absence of the smile. But the tears, the wrinkles, and the anguish is palpable and is readable by any person who chooses to see them.
Well said. Thank you so much. I'm sorry we're totally out of time, and I'm sorry, Rachna, we couldn't get you earlier on the show. But thank you so much for joining us, all of you. And well, these are really not normal times. So how to deal with the new normal is something we'll have to first look back at the past 2 months, take our lessons, and move on cautiously. But I guess one has to move on and move out. That's it for us. Thank you for watching the show, and thank you for taking part on this also. Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you, Priyaji. Thank you very much.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.